Are you scared? I am you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show, Haunting the Afterlife Radio. I am your host, Susie, and with me is my fellow amazing, fabulous host, Brian. How are you, Brian?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
I'm pretty excited for this show, honestly. It's going to be super dicey, as you like to say.
It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Um, yeah, that's all I can say about it right now.
So, everyone, tonight we will discuss the infamous Amityville House. Possession or psychoses? Haunting or hoax? Together, let's finally get to the bottom of one of the greatest controversies regarding one of America's most infamous and so-called horrifying locations. Notice I did not say haunted. But first, a few things really quick about chat, and then we're going to have a short disclaimer for you. So please, guys, if you have any questions, try to remember to put them in caps so that way they stick out a little bit. Feel free to post comments. We are just dying to hear your guys' opinion about Amityville. Also, just remember to be respectful to everybody else in chat and, of course, your hosts and everything. And other than that, that's really all I have to say about chat. We will have a 5-minute break at the top of the hour, as always. And Brian, if you're ready for that disclaimer.
Yeah, okay. The views and opinions expressed on Haunting the Afterlife are those of the various authors, websites, chat room participants, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Haunting the Afterlife Radio, Haunting the Afterlife host, or anyone affiliated with the aforementioned entities. Any content provided by bloggers, authors of websites are of their own opinions and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic groups, clubs, organization, companies, individuals, or anyone or anything. With that being said, we did some research, and we're going to present what we found about this location, and have the listeners and the chatters and even us make up our mind whether we believe it to be haunted or a hoax.
Yep, exactly. Very excited. I want to say that I'm really excited because I grew up watching the movie Amityville, the original movie. And maybe it makes me a little demented because I would sit there when I was like a teenager, and when my parents would leave and go to work or whatever, I would turn off all the lights and close all the curtains and watch this movie just to freak myself out. And it did really scare me, this movie. Scared me for years, probably up until I got maybe in my 20s or 30s. What about you, Bri? How did you feel about the actual first movie?
I actually didn't see the first movie. I read the book. And the book itself uh, scared the crumpets out of me. And yeah, I kind of felt for these people and what they were going through and everything, getting saying, wow, this can't be. This is unimaginable what they went through. And so I haven't actually seen the movie.
Okay, well, given that being said, are you going to watch it after doing the show?
I might. It was just like the other shows that were out there during sort of the same time period. The Exorcist, Salem's Lot. Yeah, I mean, I've watched those, and yeah. But yet the movie that scares me the most, and most people are going to laugh about it, is The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember that movie. I loved that movie. Yes.
That one still scares me, and I'm 53 years old.
Wow, I haven't watched that in probably since I was a teenager as well. Yeah, I did watch that a lot when I was little. Probably watched that before I ever watched Amity, honestly. So, yeah, and that's one thing that I'd like to talk about really quick is uh, Amityville, the original, the first movie was such a classic, and same thing with the Black Lagoon, like it's such a classic, you know. I mean, movies that were made in the 70s and early 80s, they just kind of resonate with you as you grow up, and thinking back to they basically did everything without computer animation and all that kind of stuff, and it just was awesome watching Amityville for that reason as well. You got to watch it, Bri. What about you guys? What about you, chatters, listeners? Did you guys watch the original Amityville? And if so, how did that affect you? I know that growing up, watching it, I never once thought, because I was young, that it was a hoax, that it wasn't, I just enjoyed watching it.
I think one of the big things is that the movie, it's for the entertainment purpose. I mean, I don't think they were really trying to do a documentary type movie. So a lot of it was for the entertainment value, and I do believe Margot Kidder was in it, and I'm trying to remember the male actor. Who was that?
While you're trying to remember, Justin says, Brian, that movie is awesome.
Oh yeah, it's
yeah.
awesome. And to give you a little story, I was living in Corpus Christi when I saw that, and I was probably 4, 5 years old, and it scared me so bad that when my parents got up they didn't find me in the bedroom or in the bed. They looked all around the house. They could not find me. I was hiding behind the couch.
Mhm.
And yeah, so my mom still tells me all of that story all the time.
Wow. So, yeah, I was kind of like that when I first saw Amityville, and then also when I saw Nightmare on Elm Street. I slept with my parents for like probably like 2 weeks. So I could not get that image of Johnny Depp out of my head where all the blood is like coming out of him when he's laying on the bed. Yeah, scare the crap out of me. Gotta love horror movies. Jeffrey Boyd says, I saw the movie, it was scary, but I never believed the claim paranormal phenomenon in the movie. So Amityville. Yeah. And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff tonight, guys. To get us started, Bri, did you want to talk a little bit about, because I know that you've done so much research on the DeFeos and stuff. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and then I can cover like the trial part of it.
Oh, sure. A little history about the Amityville House. It is actually in the New York village of Amityville, and it sits on Long Island. 1974, 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, was a scene of a gruesome murder in which 6 members of the same family were shot dead while they lay sleeping. In the early hours of November 13th, 1974, Ronald Defoe Jr., age 23, shot and killed his father, his mother, and 4 of his siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. The police took Ronald into custody for his own protection after telling the police he believed a hitman committed the murders. However, within 24 hours, he would confess to murdering his entire family with a .35 caliber Marlin rifle fitted with a silencer. But however, there's much controversy surrounding that story. And he would change his story over time. And at one time, he even claimed voices in the house made him do it.
So he ran into the bar. He ran into this bar.
Yeah, they said that he ran into a bar and claimed that somebody.
God, yeah, oh my gosh, my family's dead.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, a lot of the paranormal investigators who actually go to Amityville and attempt to do an investigation outside of the house, because they can't go in the house because people live there and it's all gated and everything. They also go to the bar and try to get some audio and stuff there as well, which we'll talk about a little bit more after break. But yeah, so he ran to the bar. So other than the fact that he said that he heard voices telling him to do it, he also had another story, right, Bride? About what went down, that he wasn't the only one that participated in the killing.
You know, I never found anything on that, but I did actually find that the police did drag the channel behind the house and did find another gun in there, which could corroborate that there was another person involved. But I didn't find any evidence of another person that was involved with it.
Well, there's no evidence of there being, I couldn't find evidence either, but he was also trying to say that his sister was involved, that his sister helped with the murders, and that he actually found her doing this, and that's therefore he shot the sister.
Okay. Yeah, but it's really interesting on the fact that the photos that I did find of the murder scenes, everyone was laying on their stomachs, so they were shot in the back. And it's really funny due to the fact that I myself am a hunter, and I know what gunfire sounds like. And even with a silencer, it still makes a fairly decent pop, especially if you're in the same room with another individual. It would wake you up, but apparently nobody woke up from the gunshots, and all the neighbors never heard gunshots.
No, all the neighbors heard, according to my research, was a dog barking.
Yeah, their dog in the backyard was barking. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's up with that? And yeah, the photos, we're not going to be posting those photos out of respect for, of course, the victims. And they are very gruesome. You guys probably wouldn't want to see them anyway. Just seeing little kids laying like that is just really devastating. But yeah, so what do you think about that, Brian? About them laying there and not...
About them not waking up, or
yeah.
Like I said, being a hunter, I know what gunfire sounds like and stuff. They said that there could have been possibilities that a unseen force held them down and whatnot. But I don't know for sure. But yeah, it was very, very sad to see everyone there, and they were cut down in the prime of life, and yeah, just really, really sad. And I hope they're resting in peace.
Definitely. What do you guys think, chatters, listeners? What do you think about what Brian's talking about, how they were face down in their beds, like they hadn't moved at all? Brian, it just occurred to me, do you think maybe they were placed like that?
It was really funny because, well, I'd not say funny, really unusual when the police came in and they were taking photos of the crime scene. And this has led to different speculation throughout the years and everything. There was a seventh photo. And they always said the seventh body, which was actually faced up. But they're not sure if one of the cops or the coroner had come in and moved the body or whatnot. So they weren't really sure until later on they found out that apparently the photographer had left the scene, went to another crime scene, took photos of that crime scene, and then came back to this one. That's how that picture of the seventh body got into the mix. And it just doesn't seem possible. I'm more than likely that they came in, they moved one of the bodies, and then put it back to its original position. So, but I think that it was kind of shoddy police work if that's what happened.
Well,
And
that does happen. If you watch some documentaries about crime scenes from back in the 70s and 80s, that does tend to happen sometimes.
yeah, yeah. And DNA wasn't coming into a lot of play at that time. So
Now, are you going to post any pictures, Brian? I don't know. I'm not seeing any yet.
I've got some pictures and everything. I'll go ahead and start posting them.
I was just thinking maybe I needed to refresh. I wasn't sure if you started posting them yet or not.
Okay, these are going to be right now of the house, and I'll just let that kind of go through and cycle through, and then we'll get into more of the story, and then continue. I know that after the bodies had been taken away and Ronald was sent to prison, the house sat vacant for about a year before before George and Catherine Lutz purchased the house. And they got a really, really good deal on the house. They paid, I think, $80,000 for the house.
Whoa.
And you think about it, it's actually on Long Island, and it's a fairly big house.
Do you know if they were aware why they were getting the house at such a good deal? Were they aware as they bought the house of the DeFeo's murders?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if they knew exactly what went on in the house. Apparently they did, because I mean it made news. But I didn't see any of that in the.
I just wonder if they were initially told about it, like when they went and looked at the house and were going to make that decision, if the realtor like told them, you know, because there are some laws in different states and counties and stuff where you have to disclose that type of information. I don't know what it was like back then, but, and then also Jeffrey Boyd said, when you strip away the superstition and mythology from the paranormal and apply the scientific methods, you are not left with a lot of work within reality.
Yeah. You know, I that's one thing that investigators always do, is we have to go in with an open mind, and we can't let superstitions or stories bias what we do. I mean, if we did, I mean, wow, we'd have evidence everywhere. but yeah, no, you strip away, you take your superstitions and you kind of wad them up, throw them away and everything. And I never liked going into a location knowing what I was looking for, because that would always pre-bias everything that I'm looking for. I hate to say that redundantly, but yeah, and if you know what you're supposed to be looking for, what would prevent you from looking so hard or wanting it so hard and subconsciously um, project that and go, oh yeah, there it is right there. There's that shadow. And yeah, I tend to go in and I have the do the investigation myself, or the hunt, if you want to call it that. And then if I have anything that has happened, then I make up my determination, and then I check what the previous claims are compared to what I experienced. But let's get back to the Amityville house. I don't think the house itself um, is haunted. Not well, not in the way that it was portrayed in the book or in the movies. Um, there might be paranormal activity there, but I don't think it's um, as bad as the book and the movie led it to be. What do you think?
Yeah. And if you're just listening and not in chat, come on into chat and let us know what you think about that as well. I'm just going off of some of the interviews that I've watched of Chris Lutz, and how he's mentioned on the interviews that I watched that he did see things in the house that were completely different than the movie and the book. But he said that he did definitely see some ghosts in the house and some things did happen. But then, Brian, you said that you listened to some interviews and you heard different things from him.
Yeah, I've seen, well, I watched a few different interviews he's did over the past years. Some said that he um, saw only a shadow figure. Other ones said that uh, there were things going on in the house, but nothing like what the movie or the book portrayed. Um, yeah, so it's one of those sort of he said, she said type of conundrums that we've gotten ourselves into. It happened only to 5 people, and out of those 5 people, there's only 3 of them remaining. Chris, Daniel, and Missy, are Melissa. And yeah, so the only people that really know what happened are them.
Exactly.
But we did find quite a bit of really interesting information. Well, at least we both did. Some things that I never would have realized or put one and one together. And yeah, they do sort of make sense into a certain area. But yeah.
I think, well, not just but I mean, like, us paranormal investigators can speculate on this house being haunted because, of course, there were murders that took place there. So would it be absurd to think that it was haunted? We do have residents who lived there after the Lutz who said that they've never experienced anything before. However, sometimes some people are just not open to that kind of thing. and so they don't experience it, versus a lot of the people in the paranormal community who are sensitive, empathic, psychics, mediums, clairvoyants, so on and so forth, who are very open to that sort of activity. So, is it haunted? Is it not haunted? I mean, it very well could be. And we'll talk a little bit more about later, because Brian and I have talked to a few people who have actually been inside of the house and around the house, and stuff, who do feel like the house is haunted.
Oh,
You know?
well, it was really interesting, and yes, we cannot name our sources, but yes, we did talk to um, an individual that actually knew someone that actually lived there. And yeah, and it kind of correlates with a little bit of what I found out, that stories say that George Lutz, the father, was practicing the occult. And then I read other stories that he was really into doing the occult, and this was from another paranormal investigator, one that I do trust, and the he is what brought everything upon the family. Let's see. Jeffrey says some places are haunted, but they are few and far between in reality. Correct. Ghosts exist, but on a far smaller scale than claimed. Um, I do agree to that to a point, um, but I do believe there are actually more spirits than what actually interact with us, if that makes sense. Um, Meaning that they just really don't want to interact with us. Um, B, they're just passing through a location. But yeah, I do believe that as far as ghosts that interact with us, yeah, they're far and few between.
Or maybe they just can't interact with us. Like
Yeah,
maybe they
yeah,
don't have enough energy to
or
come through, or yeah, yeah,
or don't know how to.
yeah, yeah. They don't know how
And
to.
and
Mhm.
I myself, I have gone to locations two or three, four times, and one time I get a lot of stuff, and then other times I get absolutely nothing. Yeah, that is actually my cat, and I'm sorry for that.
I was just gonna say it's your it's a ghost cat in the
It
background.
When we moved down to Corpus, there was a stray cat that kind of came up and adopted us, and he's a real beautiful cat. And then when we had our hurricane, I kind of brought him inside, and now he comes inside when he wants to, and he goes outside when he wants to. But real beautiful cat.
So Nikki says the whole story just seems so off the chain. Mental health issues seem to be present, but wonder if it was enhanced by the spirits that may live there. Well, that brings us back to Ronald DeFeo, because There's conflicting reports. Some people are saying he was possessed. Some people are saying he was using drugs. He was known to use heroin, LSD. Um, and then we've got George, who is into the occult. So,
Um, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Um, Ronald, the son, really didn't care for his father that much. They had a conflict, and Ronald was doing hard drugs. I'm not sure if he was consuming alcohol or not. It didn't really say. But yeah, he was doing heroin, and he had actually pointed a shotgun at his father um, months before. And the mom was able to talk that out and stuff. So, but
and he's so full of different stories, honestly. I mean, it's so hard because I've read an article and I also saw or a documentary on the fact that he was saying that he wasn't even living at the house, like actually living there, that he was just visiting, and that he was married to a woman in some other state or something. I can't remember exactly. And that he wasn't even there at the time the murders happened, that he just kind of like showed up or something like that. Did you hear about that, Bri?
no, actually, I didn't hear about that one. That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah, I have that in the document I typed up. But yeah, it was proven that he's not married. He was not married to that lady. She was actually married to somebody else. And yeah, that was all a lie. So he's obviously just telling lie after lie after lie. So it's impossible to say, was he suffering from psychoses? I know that some doctors had said that he did have antisocial personality disorder, along with, of course, the drugs, which would just enhance that disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got the story of, like I said earlier, about trying to set his sister up with the murder. Now they did find gunpowder on her nightgown, but that was debunked according to investigators. Like they said that she could not have committed this murder because basically how the investigators described it. Sorry, guys, can't talk. Is that whether or not she was involved, there would still be gunpowder on her nightie, no matter what. But,
Oh yeah, because
yeah.
I mean, it's called GSR, gunshot residue, and it sprays out and everything from the barrel with the power. We had a question in there dealing with the stone tape theory. What is my opinion on it? The stone tape theory is the theory that during a traumatic event, the spirit can inhabit um, solid objects, trees, rocks, and can then replay itself. Um, yeah, I do believe that could happen. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be just the same as residual energy, basically?
Yeah, it's like yeah, residual haunting where it just plays over at a certain time and stuff.
Well, because the murders did supposedly take place at like 3:07 or something like that, and then the Lutzes said that they were being woken up at that same time. So there you've got a lot of residual. I definitely believe in that for sure. Residual energy in the stone tape theory.
Oh yeah. And Nikki brings up a really good one. As we know, drug and alcohol have significant neurological effects that can be confused with possession, especially if they didn't know the person was under the influence. Peaceful used to think that epilepsy was demonic possession. Oh yeah. If you ever read what can get you thrown into a mental asylum back in the 1920s, yeah, you're absolutely correct, and nobody knows exactly how a specific body is going to act under specific conditions. Heroin and alcohol, opiates and alcohol. I'm not sure if they had anything like ecstasy, but I mean, even now, ecstasy with alcohol or meth. Yeah. So yeah.
Bath salts. Look at what bath salts are doing.
Oh yeah.
People are eating people's faces now. So now we've got the whole zombie thing going on.
Yeah. Just don't do drugs, people. Please don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs. But yeah, it's really difficult going back to Ronald DeFeo, and trying to figure out like what was his state of mind. But so many criminals try to, plead the whole insanity defense, and so it's not really surprising that that's what he tried to do at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And yeah, this is just one of those things, and I really kind of hate to say it. He kind of looks sort of like a Manson follower. Some of the pictures that I've seen of him. No offense. I hope you're not listening to the show. But yeah, the whole insanity plea.
The demons made me do it. The demons made me do it. The voices told me to do it.
Yeah, the voices in the house. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, there's no history on the house that we could find that it was haunted prior or anything to the DeFeos. I think it was built in 18 something. If I remember correctly from your document, Brian.
Let me just go and check real quick.
But I could not find anything prior to the DeFeos that the house.
Yeah, I couldn't find. Yeah, I couldn't find anything before that, or anything really remarkable that happened after the Lutzes moved out. So it was only that little time frame within the 2-3 years that all this took place.
So I'm personally kind of just leaning towards the fact that it was psychosis and Ronald DeFeo was out of his mind due to antisocial disorder, along with the fact mixed with drugs. And maybe he just didn't like his family.
Yeah, I agree with you. He, from what I read about him, they said that he was a loner. He did have anger type issues. And I think that, he just snapped one day and yeah, went on a little killing spree. Well, I can't say little because it took 6 people's lives. And after he kind of came down from his high and realized what he did, then yeah, trying to play the insanity card. Nikki says, I'm also in the belief that even under the influence, you can definitely be affected by spirits. You can become more susceptible, like investigating while intoxicated. Dumb. I agree with you 100% there, Nikki. Do not, well, I can't demand it. I never investigate if I had anything to drink or if I even taken any over-the-counter medication. I will wait till I'm feeling better to do everything. Thank you, Southern Paranormal Hunters. Have a great evening. Light and love to you also.
Justin's getting married, so he got to go get ready.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, and I do believe that if you are under the influence of anything, drugs or coming down with a cold, that's another one that I look at. Alcohol and everything, you do tend to your guard does tend to fall down a bit, and yes, that you are susceptible to attacks, be it spirit or cat.
Or cat. Or even being like going through a traumatic event or something in your life, like just having your defenses down. Like that one time I went to Geiger Grade and I just had my ferret put down that day and I went out. I was very open to attack. So yeah, you have to be really careful of your frame of mind. Regardless, could the vicious act have opened a door to an evil entity though?
That's a very good question. I don't know if just the act could have opened the door. I think there had to be a little bit more to it. I never found out any information if Ronald was practicing the occult. So I don't know any of that. I don't know if any of the previous tenants had ever done anything like that. Some speculate that the house was built on an Indian burial ground because a psychic that George invited in said that she got a message from a Shinnecock Indian priest who said that the house was built on a burial ground and that they were basically very, very against the white man and was going, that they would attack the white man. And this is from what the psychic was saying.
And then also there was that one investigator, which we'll talk about after break. We'll talk about him. I can't remember his name right now, but I'll look in my notes during break. But who also talked about it, native spirits being the source of a lot of this. And he actually captured a picture, guys, that we'll show to you. Now, Brian and I are not saying that this is an actual paranormal picture, but it was a picture that this man caught. And he, at the time, was supposedly, quote unquote, one of the most popular paranormal investigators at the time, captured this picture that he calls the horse man. So we'll talk about that a little bit after break. But yeah, but that's really all we have on stuff that went on before the DeFeos that could possibly have led into what happened with Ronald and with the Lutzes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I just lost my train of thought here.
We're talking about Native American horseman.
Oh yeah. The further I researched into that, I found out that there were no Indians that were buried there. They were buried further away down on the island. But there's two comments. Jeffrey says, the devil and demons do in fact exist, for Jesus cast them out in his day. I am not going to confirm or deny that. I don't know. I do believe in negative, and I do believe in a higher power. But to 100% say that yes, there are devils and demons, I'm on the fence, and I hope that doesn't offend you there, Jeffrey. But yeah, I'm on the fence about that. I do protect myself when I do go out and do investigations. I always have, and yeah, so it's that really kind of, if there are, I don't ever want to meet one. I read the Bible before, and I read different books on that, and yeah, I don't want to meet a devil or a demon if they do exist. What's your thoughts on that there, Susan?
I am in total agreement with you. I'm still sitting on the fence. I have not actually seen, as far as I know, of a devil or a demon. I recently went to Vegas with the Demon Seers, June Lundgren, and Winnie Staten Phillips. And, they have, according to them, met demons and devils. So is it possible? Maybe, but yeah, I'm with you, Brian, and I definitely do also protect myself when I go out investigating. I call upon my guardian, and I also use stones and universal prayers and things like that. And I also agree with you, Brian. I don't ever want to meet one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't really comment on that either, Jeffrey. And then Nikki B says, makes me so irritated when people play on the spirit board at parties and are heavily intoxicated. Just silly.
Yeah. that's something that I would never do. And I will not do an investigation if the, or a residential investigation, if the resident has been drinking or doing other stuff, drugs and stuff. Yeah, it's not a position that I want to put myself into or put my team into. Yeah, so, and it's just the same way about going out and doing the investigation. I won't do it under alcohol or drugs, but then again, I don't have to worry about too much about that.
A lot of people say, though, Brian, that, using certain drugs or alcohol will enhance your ability to actually open your mind up,
Oh yeah,
to spirit activity and communication.
The Indians used peyote to do their spirit quest and or their vision quest and everything. But yeah, thank you, but no thank you. I'll do. I like to have my senses with me when I'm out and about, looking, especially in cemeteries. Yeah, yeah, it's just someplace that you don't want to be off your guard.
You have to stay level-headed about yourself and keep yourself grounded. That's important. And if you're using drugs or alcohol, you're not going to be grounded in any way whatsoever. And that's really important, especially when you're dealing with places that are known to be extremely haunted. It's really important to stay grounded. How can you do that when you're like, using drugs or alcohol? It's not really possible, I don't think.
Okay, well, I did put that picture up and everything. It is getting closer to the top of the hour. I think what we'll do is when we get back from break is we'll talk more about the house and what went on with our talk with our contacts. And,
yeah, and we'll also talk about some of the conspiracies. I have a whole lot.
Oh yeah, the conspiracies, and I know that there are a ton of conspiracies out there. Yeah, so we'll just get into that. So go grab a drink and go to the bathroom, and we'll be back in 5 minutes or so. And please be here to join us.
Yes, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Ready to go? Welcome back, everybody, to Haunting the Afterlife Radio. We are talking about Amityville, also known as Amityville House. We are trying to, I guess we're trying to come to a conclusion about how we all feel, if it's haunted or not, maybe, right, Bray?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to present. We're just putting out what we found, and we're going to let the chatters and the listeners just make up their own mind on some of the stuff that we found. I know that it did kind of push me one way. So yeah.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that soon. Gosh, when you decided to do the show, and I released the promo video, there were so many people commenting on the promo video saying hoax, 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 hoax.
You know, I got that also, and I also got the other side too, that no, it wasn't a hoax. And so yeah, I kind of agree with well, I can't agree with both stands. I can agree if I divide the story up. Do I think the house is haunted? No, that's a hoax. I believe that's a hoax. Were there murders committed at this house? Yes, that's proven fact. Yeah, so now I had to dig further and watch interview after interview, show after show, and everything to start making up my mind on which way I want to lean. But I'm not going to put my bias on the way I'm leaning on y'all. I will let everyone make up their own mind. And I do want to actually say, Jeffrey, thank you for your service, and not only the military, but law enforcement. Those are some of the hardest jobs anyone can do. Nikki, it says you spent 20 years in emergency and flight medicine along with military service. Thank you for your service also, and the 4 deployments. I myself, I spent 25 years in the Air Force. I retired back in 2011. And it is one of the hardest jobs I ever did, but I loved it. If I was younger and not as broken as I am, I would do it all over again. And so thank you so very much for your service.
Yes, I would like to also say thank you. So I'm leaning a certain way, but I'm not going to talk about that till more towards the end of the show. Because I don't want to, I'm going to stay objective until the end. And then I can express my opinion. But we're going to get into some of the paranormal stuff, which is my favorite part. Now, when I say paranormal stuff, I'm talking about what the Lutz experienced. Some of it is just what the movies and the book said, and then also some of it is what from the Lutz actually really did experience according to them. And then also we're going to get into some of the controversies. There's a lot, of controversies, right, Bray? A lot.
Oh yeah. Not only with it's mostly dealing with the movie and the book, but it also brings in certain key players within this whole. I want to just go ahead and say it, messed up story.
I wish we could go back to when everything was so simple, like when I first saw the movie and the original movie, and it was scary and awesome, and
No,
I was just a young girl and I didn't know about any of these controversies, you know.
uh, we're people that want to go out and experience paranormal activity. So we actually remove ourselves from black and white and put
Yes.
ourselves in that gray area. So now we actually have to deal with this and that.
Yep, that is true. But it was just so much simpler back then. And, but yeah, there's so many controversies, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And I know a lot of you are already aware of the controversies, but let's talk a little bit about the supernatural. So, for my research, and I know, Brian, you got a little bit more added on to some of the supernatural too. But like with stepfather George Lutz, had a history, like we discussed, dabbling in the occult.
Oh yeah, yeah. He dabbled in the occult from what I read, and then on a interview that I saw is that he actually was really big into the occult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've always heard if you play with Ouija boards, that you open up a portal and you have to close that portal. And I've talked to people that actually have used Ouija boards and stuff, and it's not one of my favorite tools. It's not even one of my liked tools in this field. I don't know enough about it, and the knowledge that I do have will just make me dangerous. So no, I don't mess with the Ouija board. I don't do seances. I don't do pendulums or crystals. I use crystals for protection, but I do not use them to um, invoke spirits or anything. So
And that's the thing. When you're dealing with the occult, you're invoking a lot of the time negative entities. So
yeah, from what I heard is he knew names of
yes.
certain um, bad guys, and
Yeah.
he would try to invoke them by name.
Yeah, that's what I read
And
too.
yeah, I don't think that's a really good thing to do.
Well, from hanging out with my friends in Vegas, that's because they're demon seers. One thing they said is to never say the names, because you're basically calling them, you're acknowledging them, and you're calling them. So whether it's a demon or it's a negative entity, whichever you believe, you're saying their names, you're calling them to you. So you're invoking them. So yeah, definitely not a good thing to do.
I don't even say Beetlejuice 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you definitely don't even want to go to a place, and no matter where it is, and say, Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, come talk to me, Jeffrey Dahmer, you know? Like, no, I would definitely not want to do that. I don't even go in the freaking bathroom and say Bloody Mary. No, because you never know, like, who you're actually, like, inviting in. But so, yeah, I did hear also, that he was saying their names, demonic names.
Yeah, yeah. I heard it was quite a few, not just one
Yeah.
specific. It was a multitude of different ones.
Yeah. More supernatural, quote unquote, activity, like the Lutz was said to wake up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, which is around the time when Ronald DeFeo carried out the murders.
Yep.
Mhm. The Lutz family claimed to smell strange odors. And then we've got the green slime oozing out of the walls and keyholes. But according to sources, that was just part of the movie and the book.
Yeah, that's all Hollywood, as far as that, from what our sources said, plus from what I've also found on different websites and stuff. And just to let you know that all of our information that we're talking about, the documents that we've typed up with the web links, will be actually put onto our Facebook page and everything. So if you do want to take a look at some of the links that we found, you're more than welcome to look at those. And it's also just to prove that, yeah, we did do our homework and research on this place.
Exactly. And then there's the famous priest ordeal where the priest came to bless the house and he
got swarmed by the flies.
Well, that was from the movie and the book, but he was like, he heard a scream get out and then he was like slapped in the head. I don't know. I know that the swarming flies, that became such a huge part of Amityville because of the movie. I don't know. I didn't read the books. I don't know if it was in the book or
not. From what I did read, that the flies were real. They were in one of the rooms, but they did not swarm the priest. This was like soon as the Lutzes moved into the house. I myself have moved into locations and gone into a room and had 15, 20 wasps in it. So yeah, so it's not crazy to think that flies could have been in a room. I don't know. They said swarms. What is a swarm? Are you talking 1,000, 10,000, 100, 20? So yeah, I guess
I guess you would probably be a 5. Okay, I'd be like, ah.
I guess it all depends on your definition of a swarm. And
I did actually, though, in one of the documentaries I watched, they actually did try to debunk the fly thing. They said that being that the Lutzes moved in so soon after the DeFeos and after the murders, that it could have been possible that that's why there were flies there because of the dead bodies. So
well, from what I heard and what I found was that the house sat empty for a year. Um, I don't know what the house looked like when they moved into when the Lutzes moved into it. It could have been a dead mouse or a rat in that room, and we all know what fly eggs turn into and what they turn into after they mature. It could have been something that easy to explain the flies, but no one really did any research on, okay, was there a strange smell? Okay, strange smells, they said. It could have been a dead rat in the wall.
Yeah.
Um, but who knows?
I definitely agree with you, Brian. Like, but it would make sense too after all those murders. How well did they clean up the house after the murders? Like, if there was still that scent of bodies decomposing or whatever. I mean,
Well,
you know.
yeah, I don't think that the bodies decomposed there. I think the police were already there. Sorry about that. I think
just
uh,
letting those demons out, huh, Brian?
oh yeah, yeah. I think as far as the bodies and the beds that they were laying on and all that stuff was definitely taken out of there. Could there have been blood that soaked into the wood? Oh yeah. But I think that would have already kind of deteriorated and decomposed before that time frame.
Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely do agree that there could have been dead mice or, whatever. I mean, yeah, so debunked, I think. But definitely a very fascinating part of the movie, Brian, that you should watch.
Oh yeah. Another one of the really interesting things was Kathy had vivid nightmares of the murder and discovered the order in which the murders occurred.
I see,
And the
and
room
I
where they
didn't.
took
That's
place.
crazy. That's
Um,
crazy. I did not pick that up in my research. Wow.
and that all the Lutz children began sleeping on their stomachs in the same way that the bodies were found.
Hmm.
You know, I myself am a stomach sleeper. So, beds can be uncomfortable and you got to sleep in the most comfortable position. If that's on your stomach, that's on your stomach. As far as her having the vivid nightmares, I think the minds can play tricks on you, especially if it's really fresh in the news and you found out that this horrible event took place in this house. um, why can't your mind start playing tricks on you and instead of dreaming nice pleasant dreams of unicorns and rainbows, you dream of children getting shot in the back.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I agree.
I hope no one has nightmares tonight with me saying that. Jeff says, I'm strictly interested in the paranormal from a scientific point of view. Sadly, our knowledge of the paranormal is tremendously limited and is suspect at best. You are absolutely correct. I think that going out and doing an investigation, you have to have a logical, scientific scientific approach to to doing it. And yes, sadly, um, we haven't proved 100% without doubt of the paranormal existence. The only way is to actually capture a ghost or a demon and present that to the world, as in the same thing with Bigfoot. And unfortunately, I think that we should continue the way we are and respect them to what they were, as in people, and try to find out another way to be able to prove it. And then when we prove it, do we really want to prove it? I think it's kind of the thrill of kind of wanting, doing it is, it's, yeah. I don't want it to be answered. That would ruin it for me. I want to get close and find out myself. Okay, so back to some more of the things that we have found. Kathy again, she would feel sensations of being embraced in like a loving manner by an unseen force. Yeah, I really can't talk too much about that one. I've never been touched by a spirit. I've been tripped. I've had rocks thrown at me, but never hugged.
I've never been hugged, but I've been touched. Can we talk about the knife that was thrown in the kitchen and then the pig-like creature with the red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from the window? Because that was, I guess, debunked as being a cat.
Sure.
They even named the pig, didn't they? What they name the pig?
Jody.
Jody.
Sure. I didn't find anything about the knife being thrown, so, but I did hear about the demonic pig-like creature with glowing red eyes.
Yeah, very famous, very creepy in the first movie, which was debunked as being a cat. I guess there was a cat. I think it was a neighbor's cat or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. I always, well, I heard that Kathy found like hoof-like footprints in the snow. But then again, I also read from a meteorologist that there was no snow on the ground during this time. So
oh wow, really?
I don't know what to say on that.
Good for you, Brian, for finding that though. That's pretty cool.
Okay,
wow.
So talk about the knife. I didn't hear about that.
It was just a little tidbit that I found that, let me see. An invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen. That's all it said. And then, I guess George woke up to Kathy levitating off the bed. Is another thing that I found. Sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating in their beds. I didn't go into a whole lot of detail about any of this stuff. There's just little like bullets that I found in articles. One thing I did find on the documentary, one of the documentaries, was that their dog Harry tried to hang himself. It was a black lab that had jumped over the fence. The chain was too short, so he almost died. Those were the only supernatural things that I really found, other than the pictures that we'll discuss. Do you have any more, Bri?
Yeah, let me grab another one real quick. A dog hanging itself, a suicidal puppy dog.
I did find actually, and we'll talk about this in a little bit before the end of the show. There have been some paranormal teams that have gone out there doing their own investigations who have collected so-called evidence, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
You were saying that they were outside of the fence, or outside on the street doing
they weren't, of course, able to go in the house. I could not find any paranormal teams who have actually been able to go inside of the house. But yeah, they basically sat in their cars and did spirit box sessions and stuff. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit later.
So,
and I do. Go ahead, Bri.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead if you have any other supernatural events that you've read about.
Well, I just posted a picture that was taken by the late Lorena and late Ed Warren when they were called in to the location.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about this picture?
Yeah, let me know what you think about it, and then I'll let you know what has been said about this picture.
Jeffrey said the first movie was creepy as hell. The book was equally as scary.
Yeah, and he said the Amityville Horror 2, The Possession, was scary as hell also.
I'm not sure if I watched that or not. There's been like 18 movies.
There have been lots of books and movies and documentaries. I still haven't come up with the gentleman's name that was in the first movie, but I believe the second movie, it was Ryan Reynolds was in the second movie. I was looking that up at one point in time.
And I have to say, guys, some of the more recent movies are kind of ridiculous. Like, they have nothing to do with the Amityville House, really. Like, I haven't seen them, but I was just looking them up online, and they just seem like just crazy off-the-wall movies.
Yeah. Amityville: The Awakening, which was done in 2017. It has Jennifer Jason Leigh in it, Bella Thorne. So there have been so many movies on this house.
So yeah, what do you guys think about this picture? Nobody's saying anything yet, so pretty creepy.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
It just kind of look a little bit like the little boy. What do you guys think? Do you think this? Jeffrey says he's uncertain about the picture.
Mm-hmm. Uncertain.
Jeffrey, uncertain. Yeah. Well, do you want me to talk about what I heard, and then you could talk about what you heard?
Sure.
Okay. So in the few documentaries that I watched, there's a reporter who is actually with the Warrens because they captured this picture. She was there. And what I liked about this reporter is that throughout the documentary, she's very unbiased. Like, she's not, she's very objective. But she did state that she did not feel like this picture was staged or anything. She did feel like this picture is real. But then Brian also has some stuff too that he found in other articles and stuff about this same picture.
Yeah, some of the things that I found out about this picture, but I finally found the actor that played in the first movie. It was James Brolin.
Okay.
This picture has been the subject of so much talk about. Some say the image looks like John, which was killed by Ronald, and other people say that it was actually one of Ed and Lorena Warren's assistants back in that room, working with some equipment, and came out, and it just happened to take the picture. The reason why the eyes were white is they were using IR film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that was talked about on this picture.
And you know what? If you look closely at that picture, it almost looks like that person is like wearing glasses. If you look like those old school glasses that kind of look like cat eye glasses.
Oh, the horn rim glasses.
Yeah, like if you look closely at that picture, you can, it almost looks like you can see glasses. Do you see that?
And if I don't know of too many males that would have wore light framed horn glasses. So
Yeah,
I mean, it could be a little girl, possibly, maybe, don't know.
Or
Wasn't there.
Yeah, just somebody's a female sticking their head. I don't know. The thing that gets me though is that it looks like a very small person. Like if you look at the doorway, and how they size up in the doorway, I don't know. It's hard to say. But if you don't really examine it, you could definitely see the little boy's resemblance. John. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was, yeah.
And from what I also heard, this was the only evidence that was given out by the Warrens on this house to be scrutinized.
Mm-hmm.
The only picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Jeffrey says the picture is scary considering the circumstances. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I will definitely agree with you on that. If I saw that, I don't know.
Well, I seen this picture long time ago. Creeped me out very badly.
It's what, 10, 15 feet from the camera to, yeah.
It's just very strange because you don't really see anything other than just the head. Can't see like anything between the banisters, like, or the railings to the banister, like coming through like a body or anything. But
and I am not sure how other teams take their photographs. I myself, I like to take a series of 3 to 5 shots of each time I take a picture.
Yeah.
So that way I can actually see things going through. But then again, this is actually what we consider wet film, where you have to actually develop it. Digital cameras weren't back then.
Yeah, so that was basically the only, picture other than the horseman picture that you had up before.
Yeah, I can put that back up if you want me to. We can talk about that one.
That, I'm trying to go back to that picture, the description I had. Hang on.
Oh, okay. It's back up.
Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so this picture was taken by Dr. Hans Holzer, who at the time was considered, according to the documentary, one of the most famous paranormal investigators at the time. And he was the guy I was saying earlier who believed that the house is being haunted by native spirits. And so he calls this the horseman. He feels like this is a horseman spirit. What do you guys think? I see that Nikki B says, wow, still gets me. I'm thinking she was probably talking about that other picture.
Yeah, I think she was talking about the other picture, yeah. This one here, I have to say, it is kind of interesting to a certain extent. And if I would have taken it, I would have probably thrown it out due to the fact that you can definitely see some camera movement in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't see where it's a horseman. Doesn't even look like a horse.
I kind of thought a goat man, but no, he said horseman.
I guess it's one of those, geographical thing. You'd have to actually been there to know what the feeling in the room was. And again, this would have been great if I would have seen a picture before it and a picture after it. Then I could say, yeah, you know what? Something is right there, but what it is, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's why it's so important to take so many pictures. So that's pretty much all we have as far as like still images taken from the house.
There wasn't too much pictures or anything that were taken to document what was going on at the house.
Yeah.
And it hasn't had any reports of activity afterwards. When we were talking with our sources, they did want me to say that it's not the house. It was the family. George was the one that invoked and brought these things to existence. and it was the family that was followed and haunted, not the house. But sadly, the eye windows on the house have been replaced with square ones. And from what I read, is that the owners were tired of people coming up and disturbing them just because of the movie and the book and stuff. And they actually um, had the address changed.
Oh, did
And
they? I didn't know that.
which I thought was
Really?
really interesting. Um,
Is
they
it?
they talked with the city and the post office and stuff, and were able to get the address on the house changed.
Wow, I did not know that. Is it by any chance 308 now instead of 312?
No,
Because I had a friend on Facebook the other day saying how badly he wanted to go to 308 Ocean, whatever it's called. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's 312. So
no,
what they have it changed to?
they had it changed to 108
Mm,
because
okay.
the house is actually 112. It
Okay.
changed to 108.
112. Okay. Okay.
So
Mm.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, being that we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about Amityville now because we've only got, about 15 minutes left of the show. But so Amityville now. So basically, to date, there are 18 films about the murder home. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, there were multiple sequels. In 2005, a re-imaging of the original was made. It didn't stop there. In 2011, more films were made, mostly low budget, and that's what I was talking about earlier, like direct-to-video movies. Then in 2017, the Weinstein Company and Dimension Films released Amityville: The Awakening. Really not sure if I've seen that or not. Multitude of documentaries exist about the home, like we already said, murders and the alleged hauntings. There is a really good documentary, and I tried to find it so I could be prepared to talk about it on the show, but it really did star Ronald DeFeo, and it interviewed him for like a whole hour. I watched that, I think it was like 3 years ago, but I could not find that documentary. But
I know that Daniel Lutz put out a documentary on it.
I think I watched that one.
I've seen quite a few interviews with Christopher Lutz. He actually changed his name back to his original, which was Tarantino.
Yes.
And he actually did that after he served in the army because he was getting too much hassle and stuff about that. But yeah, as far as what I believe, I think a family can have a certain run of bad luck, and if the person is playing around with something that they really don't understand, Yeah, I think things can attach and cause havoc. And I think that is kind of what happened. As far as them making movies and books and stuff, yeah, that was Hollywood and a lot of people just trying to um, make a bunch of money.
Well, Chris Lutz said himself on a few interviews that that's exactly how he feels. And a lot of it was them trying to go into the house to debunk what happened on the movie itself instead of focusing on trying to debunk the experiences that they actually had in the home. So like for example with the window shattering in the movie, um, there were problems with those windows, he said, but instead of trying to debunk that, they tried to debunk the shattering stuff, which was Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not done yet. So, really quick, Amityville Now, the house has changed owners at least 5 times since the killings. It sold again in February 2017 to an undisclosed owner for $605. Again, it was sold at a discounted price of $200, less than original asking price. The home has been renovated and has a different look. Like we've shown pictures of the windows have been changed, which is they're kind of iconic. So it's kind of sad, but you could definitely see why they would have done that.
My question is, do they change the wallpaper?
Probably. I don't know, but I would imagine so. The Lutz's son maintains the home was haunted. Daniel Lutz claims that he was possessed while living in the home. Again, this is just stuff that I've read. Christopher Lutz maintains he saw at least one ghost. In an interview with Chris, he said his family and him were followed by something from the house. Chris notes that he's angry because, like I already said, everyone's too busy debunking the movie and not the actual paranormal happenings at the house. Therefore, it became known as a hoax. That's what he said. And then DeFeo Jr. is still alive in prison.
Yeah, he's actually serving 6 life sentences. Yeah. So he's not going to be getting out. Yeah, there's a lot of other claims that that I've heard about this. One of them, what I thought was really interesting is Ronald Defoe's attorney was in talks with George and Kathy over multiple bottles of wine to come up with a story to make money off of this.
Yeah.
Eventually, Jay Anson, the author of the first book, was in talks with George and got 45 hours worth of audio tapes from George and to write the book. What happened to those tapes, we don't know. Also, Ed and Lorraine Warren were claimed to have been followed home also by something.
I didn't know that.
By something at this house, and this house or this story is apparently what gave Ed and Lorraine Warren their fame, was the Amityville House. They have also gone on and did other famous cases that were turned into to movies. I don't know if you know this, but they were also involved with a haunting in Connecticut. And they were also involved with The Conjuring. And of course, you know about Annabelle.
Yeah.
I hate to speak ill about them, but I also read numerous websites that claim that Ed and Lorraine were also frauds, and they they have not released or did not release any of their evidence to prove different. So it's really a shame that you have these people that just go out and say, well, since they did not release any of their evidence, they're frauds. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like I said, this is just what I have seen on the internet and read and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, for sure. Well, guys, we only have a few minutes left, and really quick, I want to talk a little bit about some of the undisclosed witness accounts that I have about Amityville, and then I'll talk tiny bit about paranormal investigation at Amityville. Undisclosed witness accounts. So, like Brian and I were saying, we did talk to a few people. One witness account, and we're not, of course, not going to say any names because it's undisclosed. One witness says, I can tell you this much. I'm good friends with one of the family members who lived in that house. I can tell you that some of those events actually did take place in that house. Lastly, there are only 2 houses in my entire life that have given me a sick feeling. One was the Hell House that I grew up in. Number 2 is Amityville House. Another statement I collected was I was selling magazines door to door. Something did not feel right about that house. Another one is I have friends with Chris Lutz. He did see a ghost in that house. And I do have permission to post that, but again, I'm not saying any names. So, another thing I have here written is firsthand witness. Christopher spoke about the fabrication in the book and popular film. Yes, strange things occurred in the Amityville house. Things like Christopher's father, George, dabbling in the occult and reciting the names of demons. Christopher claims that most of the events that the house is known for is all made up. Ghostly apparitions were reported by family members, but as far as the apparition of a demon that took form of the giant pig goes, I think that we can all thank the writers of Hollywood for that. So those are just kind of some of the witness accounts and stuff that I collected. Paranormal investigations, there was some teams who have gone out there. I'm not going to say the name because I really don't remember, but I'll post the links before the end of the show. But there was a team who went out to the property and investigated from the outside of the house, which seems to be the thing to do, of course, because you can't go into the house. They did capture a voice on audio, but then they also captured voices on the spirit box that claimed to hear things. They claimed to hear things such as death, victim, he shot us, Ronald went to get the gun, and several more. If you want to watch their investigation, I'll link that right now. What do you think about the spirit box saying that, Bri? I know you want to say something.
You know what I think about the spirit box. I think I've said that quite a few times. I myself, I do not rely or even base any of my evidence off of the spirit box due to the fact that it is scanning live frequencies, and your mind does play tricks on you, like I said, and you can actually start putting words together to make to hear what you want to hear. And I told you that I will only believe in the spirit box if it says, "Hello, Brian. Thank you for joining me."
Yes, I know.
So
I hope that happens to you one day, 'cause I think that'd be really cool. But I also like I rarely use the SB7 or SB11 or whatever because yeah, I mean,
I
and the one thing I didn't really like about this investigation that I was watching, which I just posted in the chat, is a voice would come out of the spirit box and they would tell you what it was saying. So then it's already in your head, right?
yeah.
Ah,
I want to pose a question to our listeners and our chatters. Do you believe that paranormal equipment, or the equipment we use for the paranormal, is getting too advanced and too highly technical? And what are some of the equipment that you use on your team? Let us know. Send us a message to our email, to our Facebook page, and just let us know what you use.
yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah,
I I
I,
would
I,
like to know because I've kind of gotten away the last year with using equipment and kind
yeah,
of just been using my own body as like an instrument. So
well, you're lucky in the fact that you have a gift. I myself, I don't have a gift. I'm trying to see if I can tap into reawakening mine. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going back more old school. I think it's just going to be cameras, recorder. I want to even try to go back even further and use cassette recorder. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
and you barely can find regular wet film. But yeah, I want to try to go back to a little bit more old school and not play around with all this fancy new gadgetry coming out. And yeah, the like the Boo Bear. Apparently, one of your team members is deathly afraid of the Boo Bear.
yeah, Caitlin. We use the Boo Bear sometimes just for, you know, shits and giggles, I guess. Because it's still fun to experiment with different kinds of equipment, but we don't solely rely on things like that. We enjoy just trying to stick with our audio and
Yeah,
visual kind of stuff, you know, and that's, I mean, we don't even mess with the SLS too much or the Geobox or anything like that. We just kind of like to, you know, go out with our body as an instrument and then our audio to back that up and then also taking pictures.
yeah,
I might,
and Jeff, you're right. Tape recorder and flashlight is
yeah,
how I started out also,
yeah,
and yeah, and now it's just getting just way too advanced, and I don't know about most of the teams and everything, but it's getting a bit pricey to get into locations and
yeah,
buy some of this equipment. When you're talking $2,000-3,000 for an SLS camera and 15 to 20 grand for a FLIR camera, yeah, I'm not
yeah.
made of that. I'm a broken down military vet. So yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the time that kind of equipment can be very distracting when you're on investigations anyway, and that's what I
Yeah.
found. It's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah. Does it take away from you actually using your senses? Um, I know that if you use white lights, you lose your night vision capability, or yeah, your night vision. So yeah, with my flashlights, I use red or green lenses, so it doesn't destroy my night vision. So I could actually walk into a dark room and see that coffee table that I'm about to bust my shin on.
so guys, we're pretty much at the top of the hour. A few things really quick. I want to address Jeffrey Boyd said 50-50 chance that the Amity horror story was true, but made for a scary as hell movie. Now, Jeffrey, that's interesting. You say that because at the very beginning of the show, you were convinced it was a hoax completely. So maybe the show actually did some good here. I want to
I,
finally see my opinion. Go ahead,
okay.
Brian.
I was going to say, yes, it did make for a very good movie, very good books. I've seen the reviews on the movies and stuff, so I might actually have to break down and watch these.
Oh, you
So,
have to watch the first one. It's a classic. You got to watch it. I still wholeheartedly love the very first one. But again, it's a work of fiction. So,
yeah, and that's the whole thing. Did everything happen in the house the way the book and the movie said? No, that's a hoax. It didn't happen that way. Did things happen to the family? Yeah, I believe that things did happen to the family, and I
yeah.
believe that things are still happening to the family to this day. Um, Rest in peace, George and Kathy. But Daniel, Melissa, Chris, I hope everything is good for y'all now, and things have seemed to calm down. Okay, your turn.
Well, I was just gonna say I do kind of believe that the house could have been a little haunted when the Lutz moved in because of the murders. Um, and then just intensified after George's involvement with the cult activity, and that's kind of how I feel. Do I think it's America's most haunted house? No. But do I think that some haunted stuff did happen there? Yes, I do. Do I believe there was some hoaxes involved? Yes. But do I believe it's just a hoax? No. So that's my opinion after everything. And let's see, Jeffrey Boyd said in the old says all we had was a tape recorder. Oh, we already read that. Okay. But yeah, guys, so that's kind of how I feel about it. If there was no one living there and it was just abandoned and you could go in there and do a paranormal investigation, do I think maybe you could capture something? Yeah, maybe.
And you would be the first one there.
I would. I would. Oh, heck yeah, I would. Oh, yeah, definitely. I would. If I was one of those people who just drove around in cars and sat outside of the house, I mean, I would do that just to capture some EVPs. But unfortunately, I live like too far and can't do that. So, but yeah, I will always love the movie that came out, and that's where my heart lies at this point is with that movie. Although I do know that it is completely separate than what really happened with the Lutzes, but the movie is still classic, and you got to watch it. So I will always love that movie. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. I hope you guys were be able to determine based on what we came up with our research, your own opinion on whether you think the house is a little haunted or if it's just a hoax or whatever. I hope we did some justice for that. But to conclude, we do have a few announcements. On 6/21 is our next show, and we are going to have the fabulous Nick Humphreys from the UK. Now, he's a very renowned medium, clairvoyant, and we've had him on the show a good few times, and we always have some really good times with him. He likes to do tree readings for people. So that's always fun with him. He's very talented and very, very sweet guy, right, Bri?
Oh, he's a great gentleman. He is precise on when he does readings for people. And I do believe that he said that he was going to do some readings for some of the listeners and the chatters.
Yeah. I'm hoping he's good with that. So.
And for any of those that want to get a reading and stuff, go ahead and send us your email and a picture. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and forward those over to Nick when he's on the show, since he is from England, and he'll do a reading off the pictures. Or if he wants to do tree drawings, just send me a copy of your tree drawing, and I'll put it up there for him. And yeah, he's a great guy. You'll love him.
Yes. So we very much look forward to having him on the show for, I believe it's third time. So again, that's Nick Humphreys. I want to say really quick, if you're already not a part of our Haunting the Afterlife group page, here's the link really quick in the chat. Become a part of our group so that way you can stay updated on our shows and things like that. Other than that, team announcements for the Mystery Gang.
It's getting extremely hot down here where I'm at. Today was the news station said 100 degrees with a heat index of 118. So the nights cool off to about a balmy 80 degrees. So yeah, it's still a little warm to go out and do some locations. But then again, I'm out barbecuing on December 26th in shorts here. So
in Texas. Well, I'm here in Reno, Nevada, and the weather is still bipolar. 1 minute it's like 90, and the next minute it's like right now it's like 60. So
yeah, but didn't y'all have snow at the end of May?
Yes. That was messed up because it really messed up like one of our investigations. So that we worked really hard to.
Is it spring? Is it spring? Is it winter?
That's Reno for you. That's this area for you. It's very bipolar. But anyways, guys, I did post our Mystery Gang link in the chat. Visit us to keep up on what we're doing. We're going to be going out to a place on Sunday called Markleyville. I've never been there before. It's in an old historic location, and I'm going to be going out there with Lisa and a couple other people. We are going to try to go live if we have a signal. Is it going to be an investigation? I don't know. but we're going out there during the day. So if you would like to check out Mark Leeville and the historics of this location, definitely watch us live. We do have an investigation coming up on June 22nd, however, the day after the show with Nick Humphreys. It's an old abandoned house between Reno and Verdi. So, but we'll set up an event page for that. We'll have more updates on that as they come. So that's really all we have at this moment. I do want to mention really quick, I do have a group shout I want to make to Wild World of Paranormal Investigations. I definitely want to mention them because they not only allow us to post whenever we want on their page, but they also mention the Mystery Gang a lot and they support us a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and put their link here in the chat. So check them out. They're an amazing group. I'm very good friends with the admin, the main admin, and the manager and the founder of that page, and they're just great. So check them out. But that's really it. Do you have anything else you want to say, Bri?
Just be nice to your fellow man and lady, and we love you all. We can't do the show without you. You're the main reason why we do this, is to just be able to get out there and talk to other paranormal groups, other people that are interested in the paranormal, and just kind of building that friendship and working together rather than fighting all the time. So with all the negativity in the world and everything, this is a fun, happy place that you can come and talk and enjoy yourself, and God bless, and we love you all.
Yep, I definitely agree, Bri. We love you all. Love and light and peace, everyone.